In the beginnings of our written history, there's displayed the ultimate combination of church and state, in having the rulers being both the kings and gods, like Egypt and its pharaohs. Later came progress in the idea of men not being gods, and there being a separation or a space between gods and men. Yet there remained the hierarchy of closeness to the gods through heredity or even a divine appointment. In place of a king god ruling over the people, majestic and omnipotent, there was instead a king whose communion with the god or gods gave him insight into their divine will and desires. Now here we sit, much later, within the supposed complete removal of all religion from the politics governing our country, and yet we face issues of a seriously similar frightening taste. Still exists an omnipotent ruler, the majority. This majority is backed by the state and federal governments by force of imprisonment and threat of physical harm or death. We as Americans exist in a deteriorating republic where there is the illusion of freedom supported by free choice through voting for leaders and local bills and such. One clash with individual liberties that should not come with this system of governance is the letting of the majority to rule for the minority or for the individual. Within our current state of affairs, when you have a literal half plus one split in voting numbers, you inherently have approximately half minus one of your population in disagreement with the choices and ergo the law of their own land, of their home. Our Constitution is supposed to be a safeguard against this very thing. That's what makes us a republic. It guards us against the imposition of any law that would violate our unalienable rights, our quote-unquote God-given rights of the free people. Though there are avenues of recourse, like the 10th and petition for redress, few of these avenues seem to be active or enticing enough to elicit involvement from a population who is incessantly told to go to work, follow fashion, act normal, walk on the pavement, watch TV, obey the law, and then pay their taxes. This is for us to just waste our lives so that we don't get in mommy and daddy's way when they're deciding on what is best for us. We are distracted by the newest toy and enslaved by the effort needed to obtain said toy. But I'm digressing. Though many people see this as a barbaric predicament and a cruel form of governance, myself included, I see also a progress within the historical perspective. What cannot happen is for this ideological, or for these ideological evolutions to stagnate. We cannot stop at this faux democracy or faux republic that we're in now. We can't fall back on a centralized government-run socialism. We must plant the seeds of change, not like Obama, for the future evolutionary advancements of an organic ideology to spread far and wide, in the hopes that even just a few will take and start to grow in their own idiom and in turn drop seeds in their own likeness, self-propagating the only naturally evolving form of a system of governance that caters to true freedom and individual liberty. We as a people have seen an evolution of socially acceptable forms of governance that have come into and died out of use. And half expected with this is the backsliding or ebb and flow of these ideas and their worth by adherents of the people. Progress can only be fully achieved when there is a solidarity and acceptance amongst a sizable group of people of a given geography. And further, this scope, or the scope of this geographical location, would have to eventually, at some point, be all-encompassing due to the need for a collusion of all the peoples to at least somewhat be able to grasp the most blunt points of this novel idea at the forefront of this mass's understanding. If there's not a wide enough spread of this idea to create a critical mass needed for there to be a catalyst for this change, then retrograde will undoubtedly ensue and continue, as I think we have observed for a while now. For every step forward, there is necessarily going to be a high chance for 2 steps backwards. But in having taken any new step, there is set forth a new goal, a new aspiration for us to quest after. And in that, there's growth. For me, looking at this evolution, this ideological evolution, especially for me being what I would still consider very new to the game of thinking out of the political box, thinking in terms of ultimate freedom and individual liberties, I see this as an evolution of what I would call freedom in governance. And at this point, I would define that as anarchy. You see your democratic union, or like federation of sorts, and then the republic city-states, and then you have an even smaller scope of government in the libertarian sense of small government. Then you abolish government altogether and come with the emergent communities that arise out of the market anarchist. And then we have what is to me at this point the furthest leg of this evolution that I can see, which would be Agorism, or a peaceful worldwide black market. It seems to me to be the antithesis of a New World Order type government, while also being a one world shared acceptance of commonalities between trading communities. What I mean by agorism is not that it should overwhelm the state via economic subversion. I'm not looking towards agorism or agoric action as a tool for deconstruction of our government, mainly because I don't think it's possible. What I mean by agorism is the uninhibited exchange of essentially free goods and services for other free goods and services between voluntary parties. For me, at this point, agorism seems like a fantasy. Not in a bad way. Even to me, an anarchist. This may be partly due to me not fully understanding the idea, but I can imagine how the anarchic emergent communities would work, and I can easily see how they would function better and more efficiently than the state. But from that, it's still a long road, it seems, to agorism. Though agoristic action seems like an even more true form of what is sought after in the freedom motivating the anarchic ideology, that being a peaceful black market. And more so, the general decentralization down to an individual level.